Welcome to Fatima Today. I'm Carolyn Walsh, and I'll be your host. Most of us know the story of Our Lady of Fatima when she appeared to the 3 young children in the hills of Fatima, Portugal, when they were out tending to their sheep, and she made several visits to them. And she taught them over time that they needed to convert, and that all of mankind needed to convert back to God, that God was being greatly offended, and that we needed to mend our ways. And that story is the same today. We all need to convert, constantly convert back to God, back to what He is calling us to do. And one of the best ways that we can do that is by learning from very fatherly and loving priests. Here at our program, we try to bring you guests that can share with you how to live out the message of Fatima. And today we are graced with 3 wonderful men who have produced a film called Fishers of Men, which is about the priestly vocation. And they're going to share with us the story of that film. They're going to talk about the priesthood and their experiences in putting it all together. So I'd like to introduce Joe Campo, Michael Campo, and Clifford Avize. You all worked on the film. Michael and Clifford as associate producers, and Michael as a writer,
Yep.
and Joe as a producer of the film.
That's right.
So Fishers of Men is a short film that is specifically about the vocation of the priesthood.
Well, it takes on a couple of different natures, if you will.
Okay.
It is about the priesthood. That's probably the best way to explain it, But it's also for the priesthood as well, because of the depth of the personalities and the people that we go into, and what the priesthood basically is. So it covers a wide variety of the priesthood. Hopefully it will inspire people, young men, to become priests. It will inspire priests who are already priests. And basically and to, of course, inform people of what the priesthood is about. Most people have a different view of what our view is of the priesthood.
Right.
And so actually what you got to see there is our view on the priesthood. Wouldn't you say that's right?
Definitely, without a doubt.
Well, it's really a refreshing film because it gives you a new look at the priesthood, especially in these times where we've had so much controversy revolving around it. It gives us a new, fresh start, which I personally loved about it. It's not your first film.
No.
And this is a film that was commissioned by the United States bishops as a result of them seeing another film you produced, which
God in the Street. New York City, right?
Okay. And so tell us a little bit about that film, Clifford.
God in the Streets of New York City there were 6 monstrances that were blessed by our late Holy Father, Pope John Paul II. And they were to go out throughout the world, and one came to New York City, and from there we started to film the procession that took place in New York City. And there were events where people were coming together at 3 in the morning, about 200 gathered, to walk with Jesus through the village, through Times Square, through downtown Manhattan, and it was just, it was amazing just to see these people come together and worship God at such late hours, and we managed to capture all those moments on film, and we produced a 3-minute piece out of that.
And some of the bishops saw it, and
one of the fathers, priests for the vocations of the U.S. was there, and met us, and he met Joe Campo, the producer, and they started to talk, and from there, Fishers of Men came into play. So.
And it's part of your film company called Grassroots Films.
Right.
Which is based in New York.
Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn, New York. And I want to give a little bit of background. You're all in residence together, or next door to each other.
Yeah, 2 houses.
You have 2 houses,
Right.
St. Francis House and St. Joseph's House.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about those homes? Because they in and of themselves are doing tremendous work for God as well.
Well, I'll just tell you that the St. Francis home was started by Father Benedict Rochelle from the Franciscan Friars of the New in 1967, so we're there almost 40 years. And about 16 years ago, I kind of took it over. And rather than close the house, they got somebody crazy enough to go in there and actually stay there. Basically, that's what it came down to.
It's true.
But I've never been happier in my life.
Good.
Anyway, so yeah, the St. Francis House is a home for young men who need a second chance in life. Many different reasons: economic problems, drugs and alcohol, things that go on in people's families and so forth. So the St. Francis House is, like Father Benedict would say, it's a lifeboat. It's a place where someone can come in a Christ-centered home and be safe, get your education, medical, whatever it may be. And from actually the St. Francis House, the St. Joseph residence across the street was born. And so we have usually 15 guys, and we have the youngest age is 17, but the oldest we have is 26, which is Cliff.
Okay.
And so we have the younger guys in one house and the older guys in the other house.
And it works beautiful that way.
Yes, I bet it does.
The young, the old.
And Michael's been sort of overseeing the St. Francis House since I moved into the St. Joseph residence. So we
Okay.
kind of expanded a bit, you know.
So Michael, you're in this home with all these young men
Yeah.
who are coming from some challenging backgrounds.
Right.
You must need to be a prayerful man to deal with that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, St. Francis House has definitely made me more of a prayerful man. I've been there for about 6 years now myself. And I'm the oldest person in the St. Francis House. And it's really a great group of guys. It really, really is. You know, these are strong, faith-driven men. You know, and it's when Joe was saying, you know, that they didn't have a chance. You know, they needed a second chance, and the St. Francis House provided that for them. They've really taken that opportunity, and they've really taken that second chance.
You know, it speaks to what Our Lady was saying to the children in Fatima, that we all need to convert. We all need to be constantly in a state of conversion, really, and you're providing this opportunity for these young men. Joe, you said something earlier to me that I'd like everybody else to hear, that, you know, you're not just filmmakers. First you're men of God, then you're men of prayer, and then you're filmmakers.
Then we're filmmakers, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What does that mean to be, what does it mean to be a man of God, and what does it mean to be a man of prayer? If you can help us understand that, because before I let you talk, I'll just say something. We all need to be children of God, and we need to be people of prayer, and that's easier said than done. So how do you do that?
You're right, it's easier said than done, no question about it, and we work on it on a daily basis. I mean, you know, we want to be men of God. We want to be good men of God. Are we good men of God? We do our best. Do we fail? Of course we fail. And when we fail, we get right back up again. But we start our day off with prayer. So we start our day with God. And we pray together. So we have this little house community, quote unquote. It's not a community. I don't want anybody to get the idea that that's what we're doing, because it's not, because God put this together. I didn't even put this together.
It's a big family.
Right.
That's how we see it as.
Yeah, it's a home.
And you know, when you pray in the morning and then you go to work, you know, you pray first and then you go to work, you know, God is a part of all of that. And you know, I couldn't imagine not praying in the morning and then going to work. There's something missing, in other words, you know. And we eat together, so we pray before our meals, all of our meals, you know. And so, you know, to be a man of God is to do the best that you can. We show up every single day and we do the best that we can. That's what we do. And if someone's having a problem or fails or something like that, we help each other. I mean, all of us help each other.
And
pray for each other.
Right,
Yeah.
and everyone wants to help, so it works both ways, you know.
One of the priests in the film mentions that, I believe he said that he came from a family where there was the morning prayer and there was the family rosary and there was the grace before meals, and there was regular prayer life in the home. And from this home, he discerned a vocation. So, you know, families are incredibly busy today. How do you fit, you know, you're always putting, if we're trying to put the prayer in there, sometimes we're putting it on the back burner. It's the last thing.
That's the mistake.
God comes last.
But that's the mistake.
Yes.
You have
You
to
know?
make time for it. That's just what it comes down to.
Yeah.
It's like if you're going to go work out, or if you're going to go do something, you have to make time for it. You have to make time for practice, or whatever you need to do, your studies. Same thing with prayer. You need to make time, and then you will find time if you practice and go in that direction.
Yeah, you know, making films, we have a tremendous schedule. I mean, it's not unusual for us to work 15 to 18 hours a day on a project
least.
Right.
for 3 months straight,
Right.
with hardly any days off.
Right.
You know?
Actually, it was interfering because we had to wake up an hour earlier to start saying prayer so we could have it in time.
Because our work was interfering with our prayers.
So
Right.
You
Right.
That's what we said,
So we
right?
made
That's
time.
good.
We all-
So you're speaking to really that we have to constantly be readjusting and making changes so that God is always the priority.
It has to be.
Yeah. Now, there are wonderful priests in this film. It's such a moving and compelling film to watch. These are all priests, and not all of them, just some of the priests that you've known throughout your lives that have had a profound effect on you and your faith. Can you tell us, share some stories of how you decided who was going to be in it? And
Well,
I think we filmed, I don't know how many priests we filmed.
yeah.
How many?
Yeah, we filmed 15. I think, give or take 10 or 15. I think we filmed about priests, and I mean, I know Father Glenn, one in particular friar who's in there. It's just he's so down to earth, but yet so spiritual too. And it's like, you know, it's a no-brainer to pick him because it's like, who doesn't love someone like this man? You know, he's everything the church is. You know.
He's strong, and he stands up for the truth, and he's very direct. Let's put it that way.
he's a manly man.
He's a manly man. Exactly. Exactly.
And that's what you guys are doing in the St. Francis and St. Joseph house too, you've said, is that you're trying to form manly men
Right.
of God.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this helps, but, you know, we picked the guys that were the happiest priests that we knew.
Right.
These guys.
There was a long list.
It was a
but-
long list. I mean, we have a lot of guys that we, you
Right.
know,
Right.
but these guys, they look great on camera, and also they fit into the dialogue as well.
And
So we didn't
script.
just pick them because
Right.
of the way they looked.
Right.
I mean, there was many, many different factors
Right.
in order to make it work. There's a dialogue that takes you through the whole thing, right?
Right.
Right.
But these guys, they fit exactly what we wanted to do, and
And to be honest with you, as the writer, it wasn't too difficult to write because these guys were naturals. Everything they said was from them. It was from their hearts, None of them were actors or anything like that. These are priests, and what they're saying is what they believe.
That's one of the things that is striking about the film is the genuineness.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is very powerful in it because it's not staged.
you know, plus all of us, we've had great priests in our lives, our whole lives.
Yeah,
And
even though I wasn't spiritual, going to church, every time I would go by the church, it was a great priest, talking to me and trying to, put me on the right path. But, great priests all around. So.
That's wonderful. There are a couple quotes that came out in the film that I jotted down because they really struck me. That a vocation to the priesthood is countercultural. Is that true? Yes, we know it's true.
Yes.
It's against the grain.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
So how do we help people understand that it is the need that we have for priests, that if we share that and pray about that, we can bring more people to the priesthood, because really priests come from families, they come from priests leading other men along.
I think a lot of guys are called, but, in this noisy world, you can't hear anything. How are you going to hear God if the radio's on all the time and the TV at the same time,
Right.
and now the computer's on all the time,
Right.
and the toaster's going with the microwave?
You said in it, one of the quotes also is that every Catholic male should consider the priesthood. It's not saying become a priest, but they should all spend time discerning the priesthood. How can they do that in this ever noisy, increasingly demanding, distracting world?
By taking it more serious, by listening, slowing down. I mean, if you were to listen to everything that the world tells you, where would you wind up? Where would any of us wind up? The message that the world gives us and the message that Our Lady of Fatima gives us, there's a contradiction right there.
Right.
I mean, you don't have to go much further than that.
In the life of a priest, though we can't truly know this because we aren't priests ourselves, but it's got to be an incredibly demanding vocation. You're constantly at the service for God to others.
And I think that's one of the most important things that we wanted to express in Fishers of Men, because a lot of young people, they see the priest standing up, on Sunday giving the readings, and that's it. They don't realize the depth of their lives or what they go through on a daily basis.
Right. One of the priests shared in the film too that what one person goes through in their entire lifetime, they can go through in one day, from marrying a couple to baptizing a baby, bringing them into the church, to celebrating a funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we all know the emotional upheaval in people's lives, even with joyful events. It's a very emotional time, and the priests are right there administering the sacraments for all of us. What was the toughest part about doing this film? What challenges did you have?
I think not putting everything that we know a priest can do in 18 minutes. That was one of the toughest things I think we had.
And you actually had you originally only had 10 minutes.
Right, exactly. We had 10 minutes, and it just constantly extended to 18 minutes and 20 seconds. And yeah, we could have gone on for 2 hours, you know, without hesitating. But we need to keep the interest, you know, get to the point, and speak to the youth that we know how to speak their language. So we need to communicate, get in and out as fast as possible with as much information. So
Cliff hit the nail on the head. I think that was the most difficult part. You know,
yeah.
is trying to fit everything a priest does into 18 minutes.
Right.
You know, and showing the beauty of it.
And it's just the tip of the iceberg what this film has to offer. There's so much more relationships you build with the people in the parish. You know,
Right.
Right.
it could go on and on.
Well, you shared with me earlier that it's not so much that the film tells you about the priesthood as it shows you
Shows you.
Right.
about the priesthood.
It's another language, you know. The language is pictures and music. That's how you speak to this generation.
Right.
And, yeah, and like Joe said, the youngest one we have in our company is 17 years old. And to Joe, and aside from me, I'm 26 years old, one of the youngest guys in the company. So we have a large range of what people really would like to see or keep interested in film. And so we're very diverse, you know, trying to make sure everyone gets something out of the film at every age.
Well, have you received any feedback from priests?
We have. Excuse me, we have, but I think we like to stay away from it and
Yeah.
hear it in heaven. We're going to
Yeah.
need everything we
Hope so.
can
Yeah.
to get in
As a matter of
there.
fact, you know, I
Right.
told the guys, you know, at the end of our lives, there may not be such a big reward, you know, because we love this too much.
Yeah, right.
So
Right.
God will decide ultimately,
Right.
you know.
Have you? So, do you want feedback from anybody? I mean, do you want to?
We hear a lot of feedback, and we hear it's all positive, you know, and that's great, and that's great. And but for us, it's sort of like, you know, maybe that's what Hollywood wants, you know. Let's get
Is
up
to
there.
get
and-
the
You know,
feedback.
someone said to me, you know, you guys are going to get an Academy Award. I said, you know what? If we get one vocation out of this film,
Right.
that's our Academy
Mission
Award,
accomplished.
right?
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished.
Let's move on
And
to
honestly,
the next film.
Joe really taught us how to, like, you know, it's great, it's fine and dandy, the positive feedback, but let's just work on the next piece.
Right.
Because that's what we really enjoy doing. I mean, we're up all hours of the night.
You know, when this thing was released in March, this film, you know, I showed these guys all the fan mail that came through, and there was a ton of it. And I said, here's all the fan mail. We put it right in the garbage, right? I said,
Yeah.
this is where we're going to put it. It's great, and we appreciate it, but for us, that's just, you know, that's nice. And we need to hear the good things, and we did read it. It's not what we're about.
Well, you're truly doing it for God.
That's it.
And you're building up
Yeah.
His kingdom.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, if you get one vocation, if you save one soul, if you convert one sinner to living a more godly life, you've done your work.
Yeah.
I'm, as a parent, watching that film, I know that I've tried to, I do pray and ask God to open my heart and share my children with Him. I know they're all His in my head, in my heart. I
Right.
struggle with that. But it really inspired me to go that extra mile, to really give that much more of my heart and offer my children to Him, to take them. I mean, I've always felt privileged, thought I would feel privileged if one of my children chose the priesthood. But this, it makes you want. I told you I wanted to grab my boys by the scruff of their necks and bring them to the seminary. You will be a priest. You will be a priest.
Listen, that's the best compliment we can get. You know, we had a mother, not tell me, but tell another priest after he showed this to his youth group. The mother came up to him and said, if my son became a priest, he wouldn't be missing anything.
No. No, and that
She
is
got
the
it.
big lie.
She got it.
That's the big lie of our culture, too. I mean, the excitement that these priests share in this film, the joy of their vocation, and the love is so evident. It's you really captured it. I mean, you did a, I know you don't want, I know, okay, but you
did a little bit's okay.
Right?
you did a phenomenal job. It really is wonderful. You brought up too, or one of the priests in the film brought up that kids are fighting battles that we never had to fight. We never had to fight them. I didn't. Certainly, you younger men fought them much more than Joe or I did.
Yeah.
But they are up against a lot. I mean, they're constantly, even if you're trying to live a life in Christ, you're constantly bombarded. So how can kids ignore those distractions? Do you have any tips? Any ideas?
Take it from the young guys.
How they can avoid the distractions. One is to have a strong family. If you have a strong family, you can go virtually break through anything. Also, watch our videos. Yeah. Because honestly, it's like, it's also the media that really has a large impact in that. Like, downplaying some kids that feel bad when they go to school or whatnot, or you don't have these sneakers, or keep up with the times. And it's tough, it's tough to grow up in that environment. But, stay positive and have a good family, and without them, it's, you can get through anything with a good family,
So what can families do? What kind of lives can they be living overall on a daily basis? How can they be helping these kids grow, helping all our children grow
These are
closer
tough questions.
to Christ? Examine them. As a parent, I mean, we want to know, how can we, certainly we want our children to be successful, and we want them to use their gifts and talents for God's glory. But more importantly, we want our children, their lives to be centered on Christ.
Be strong in that. Be strong if you're a woman or a man of God. Be strong in that and don't fall back. If there's one thing I can say is, like, to have a strong parent is very key. Especially that you have God in your life, and I could see that, with all parents out there. Keep God in the center of it all, and your kids will see the truth. No question about it. They're not dumb.
One thing that I found out working with young people is that if the parents are together, the kids are together. Right. And not just physically. I mean, if mommy says yes, then daddy says yes. They agree on this. But when the parents are sort of like pitted against, well, if I can go to mommy to get this and go to daddy, you need a united front,
Right.
And when the parents are strong, like Cliff said, when the parents are strong, the kids will be strong. It eliminates confusion.
Right.
Yes means yes, no means no.
Right.
And a kid gets in the middle of that and tries to, well, any adolescent will do that. It's just perfectly normal for them, to sort of like, but you can't let the kids pick and choose sides. Who's better? Because mommy and daddy are one.
That's right.
And once you have that, then the confusion is gone. And confusion is running this world right down to where.
Well, another comment that was made was that the crisis in our culture today, it's not the crisis of homelessness, it's not the crisis of poverty, it's not all these things that we could list, that we can all get stuck on certain things. It's not the crisis of war. It's the crisis of the absence of God, that God is missing from our culture. And really, families are the ones that can bring it back. I wanted to ask you specifically if you have any ideas for sons, for parents and sons. I asked a priest this once. I mean, should we be having our sons do extra rosaries? Should we be having them on their knees praying all the time? Should we have them at adoration? Should we have them as altar service? Should we be doing this so that we make sure that they discern their vocation? I mean, how can we open them up to that possibility?
By you doing it. They'll follow their parents.
So by us living a prayerful life,
the kids will do it. And you know what? Kids will make a left turn every once in a while.
Of course.
But they'll come back. As long as you're doing it, they will come back.
It's true.
They gotta, when they fall, then they're gonna have to see what's around them to get themselves better, and you will have God in your life, and they know that that's what they will need, and it will get proven to them. It's not like they'll just follow your lead. God will show them. God will show them.
Right.
And when they do stray away, they have their parents to look up to help them.
I envision them being all encircled. They get lassoed with the rosary beads and pulled back in with all that prayer.
Good way to lose them. Good way to, I mean, if you, like, a lot of parents will even say to me, we want them to do this, we want them to do that. And the question is, are you doing that?
Yeah.
And if you're doing that, they will follow you. I strongly believe that.
Right.
The kids follow the parents.
No, and I think that's very comforting to all of us parents to know that it starts with us, that really the measure, when we examine our children's lives, we should really be examining our own and seeing how well we're staying in line with Christ. This film is a must-see. You just, if you can get your hands on it to see it, or you're able to watch it through somebody else, through your church or wherever, you should. It's wonderful. And pass it on, pass that information on. Joe, Michael, Clifford, just like you had to cut your film to 18 minutes, we have to ultimately say goodbye here.
Very good.
Because we could go on and on. I have 1,000 questions for you. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us here at Fatima today, and we will see you again next week.
Our Lady of Fatima said, "Will you offer yourselves to God and bear with submission all the sufferings He sends you in reparation for the sins that offend Him and for the conversion of sinners?" Our Lady of Fatima opened her hands and flooded the children in light. They fell to their knees, repeating, "O most Holy Trinity, I adore Thee. My God, I love Thee in the most blessed sacrament." Our Lady at Fatima said, "My Immaculate Heart will be your refuge and the way that will lead you to God."